Hey, White Sox fans, Brett Ballantini here, hosting Southside Sox Podcast 87. It's a wake for a canceled season, and we do actually have a couple. If you're watching, a couple actually, I chose gray, just slightly muted. We do actually have a couple dressed in black for the canceled season or canceled start of season. As you can see, that's all we're going to talk about here. This usually very detailed and highly orchestrated podcast is just going to be done. We're going to just wing it. See, there's no notes here this time. It just says podcast 87. I'm Brett Ballantini in slight mourning because we have a number of different characters from the Southside Sox universe with us today. First thing I'm going to do is just go around to everybody and get an immediate reaction of what has happened today, just where your mindset's at. We are going to start in half of the Indianapolis field office in full mourning. Is Chrystal O'Keefe, and she's probably pissed. Chrystal, what you got for me?
I just really hate the commissioner. He is going to get the most blame from me. I mean, the owners suck, and I'm all like, eat the rich. But man, Rob just boils my blood. Also, this is Black Flag, so they're just really cool.
Oh, fair, but it also, it works for mourning as well. Good vibes, Jacki Krestel. Oh my, gonna be a tough night for good vibes.
It's a tough night over here at the Good Vibes household. I think it's easy to place blame on the commissioner, but he's there to represent the owners, and definitely eat the rich. I'm in mourning right now, even though I'm not wearing black, and I'm in the anger stage of mourning right now. Because we've all had a rough few years, I think that's fair to say. And I'm just very angry that these ghouls would take away a sliver of joy, that, something that brings us a little bit of happiness. No, they're going to crap all over that. So I'm angry right now.
Okay, he's preparing not maybe for Sox math this year, but Knights math. It is the other half of the Indianapolis field office, Super Joseph Resis. Joe, where are you at right now?
I am amazed by how similar the owner's behavior was this time around compared to when the 2020 season was up in the air. And that was very straightforward, and yet they made it very complicated, and they kind of tried to push forward these offers that were largely the same as previous offers they had put down. For example, like they were comfortable with a certain amount of expenditures that year, and so they just kept making a very similar offer. Just, they wanted to offer like that amount of money just spread out across different amounts of games, and tried to pass it off as like, oh, check out this amazing new offer that we've put forth. And we kind of saw that a lot recently with the competitive balance threshold just in the past week or so here. And yeah, so I guess not a ton of disappointment, but just it strikes me as just very unusual how similarly that played out from this time and to how the 2020 negotiations played out, and not in a good way at all. And it just took way too long to make any kind of serious progress. I mean, just too many meetings early on in the offseason that lasted 15-20 minutes, and then nothing happened, and then they moved on. So not a lot of good stuff to talk about.
And let's not forget, Joe, the owners did not want to start the 2021 season on time either, those scoundrels. Okay, Joe, definitely avoiding real emotion. We are going to get him to cry by the second half. However, back with us on the podcast. Yes, he comes out when it really counts. In times of mourning, it's Tyrone Palmer. Tyrone, I've seen some social media thoughts. Where are you at right now?
I don't know. I'm upset that like the owners just don't care about baseball, which just sucks. I think like from the time that they started the lockout until now, they haven't moved on any position like that really matters. and I don't think they really have any desire to do that. And I think I think they'd sign up for a 60-game season again. I feel like they are just going to let the players wait it out until the players eventually just break and decide to, just deal with a crappy agreement. But yeah, I think it just, for almost all of the owners, it's just like they view it very much just like a stock that they own, something to add to their portfolio that they can kind of just hold and try to make as much money. And that's pretty much it.
Well, Tyrone, if they were smart, they would have just invested in the stock market. Apparently does way better than baseball.
Yep. No, all of them are poor, and none of them are making any money at all. And, yeah.
Oh boy. Okay, Tommy Barbie, Father Sox of us. Listen, we had some good times. It feels like 6 off seasons ago, but it was just this off season. Gosh, that was a long time ago. We can start counting ahead to. We might have to start counting ahead to Soxivus, but right now, at least, with at least 2 series canceled, where are you at?
Well, I thought initially, I've said it many a time, it felt a lot like 1994 to me going into all of this. And, I don't see it turning around unless the players fold, quite honestly, because the owners have made it very clear where they're standing on it, and they have no interest to spend more than they have to. And it's really going to be up to the players. And I just, I guess I would be angry, but I saw it coming. There were so many signs leading up to now that the owners weren't going to budge, and it was just going to be a matter of whether or not the players, blinked first. And props to them for holding their own. But I think it's going to be a really, really icky few months until something kind of comes to fruition, because I think one of the main differences I saw is that there is a lot more vitriol from the players' side, especially on social media, than even like the last couple of seasons, where the start of the season's been up in the air. It hasn't been this bad.
Yeah, aside from, I don't know, like a lost World Series, the good news, if it really does reflect the early 90s there, Tommy, is that I think eventually the negotiating tactics were so bad. I want to say the Labor Relations Board did intervene. I think they were the ones who sort of stopped this. So, it's not like they're not doing it again. So fingers crossed, maybe they'll intervene quickly. All right, finally, completing the round robin. He tends to shade ownership. I want to know if today's maybe results maybe changed his mind, and he's decided to ditch the bourgeoisie and go to the proletariat class. It's Zach Hayes. Zach, we've talked about this probably at length. It seems like every time we talk, we're talking about this, but where are you at today?
Yeah, I actually got a call from Jerry Reinsdorf this morning, and he's putting me on his payroll. So I'm just gonna zip up. I've got no.
I'm glad
Rob
he's paying
Manfred's
somebody.
That's right. I'm getting the Michael Conforto money. So Rob Manfred's salary is $11 million, and he's getting paid whether there's games or not. So for the millionaires versus billionaires argument, I mean, I don't know what else you want, but yeah, to piggyback off of what you just said, Tommy, I don't know how to put this. There's a small part of me that in a way is almost a little bit relieved that the that turned out to be fake near agreements actually were not so, because the reports that were coming out, which turned out to be entirely, ownership leaks, had a really, really, again, yet another disadvantageous deal for the players that was really pretty much a lateral move from the current CBA. So it was kind of like okay, great, we're going to get a season, but we're going to be in the same place for 3 or 4 years. So, I'm very glad to see the players digging in and hopefully forcing the hand of an NLRB intervention or something like that, because the sad truth is, as much as my revolutionary heart would love it, like no one's coming to take the owner's money. They'll hold out for years if they want to, because they're going to be billionaires either way. They'll lose money on the gates, sure, but it's going to have to be the TV networks or the government or somebody stepping in to get this done. But I hope that can happen. I hope there's enough of a possibility of that happening for the players to keep holding their ground, because it's going to be pretty disappointing, as much as I want baseball, if it turns out that we go through all of the stress and all of this hand wringing and all of this distress, if we're just going to have the same thing and be headed down the same route in 3 or 4 years. So yeah, it's pretty bleak, but like Tommy said, it was pretty easy to anticipate too.
Okay, I lied. We made room. We just advanced her from the kids table to the the big people table. Yes, we're here at the adults table. Delia Ritchie is going to also chime in. We're just going around, Delia, and talking about just your immediate feeling with the news today, with the failure today to come to an agreement and cancellation of at least the first 2 series of the season. How are you feeling?
Well, my initial reaction is like, what the actual, like, what the hell? Like, it's seriously disappointing and discouraging to see that it may just be on the owners. I was just perusing Instagram, and Christy Hendricks, Liam Hendricks' wife, her story popped up, and she was like, I've been silent on this. And normally when you see that, I have a cautious reaction, because I'm like, you've been silent on what, Christy? But Christy's a good person, so I don't have to worry about that. So she was like, my husband's been in since October 26th, pitching his heart out to prepare for the 2022 season. It's not the players aren't showing up. It's the ownership. It's ownership, and it's Manfred himself. Manfred purposely waited until December and didn't tell anyone going to do negotiations or even entertain anything. And so my loathing of commissioners dates back to Gary Bettman of the NHL. So I am admittedly steadfast in my disdain for Rob Manfred, because he may have had the praise of stopping the lockout way back when, but really it was Sonia Sotomayor, who's now Supreme Court Justice, that signed and made sure that baseball was going to happen. So will this lead to a resurgence of the steroid era again if we end up losing baseball for a year? I hope not, but it's discouraging, and it's also just there's musings that like Jerry's involved, but he's discouraged at what Manfred's doing, but we don't know what's going on inside Jerry's brain. We only know what we're being told. So it's a lot of mixed emotions, mixed reactions, but my initial feelings are just, there's no pleasing the ones that, there's no pleasing the ones that are like the billionaires.
Yeah. Well, Delia comes to the adult SSS table and just spills a can of worms all over the middle of the table, because there are a lot of issues there, including, oh my God, they're not testing for PEDs any longer. Oh, okay. Quick before our break. This is open to anybody who wants to just spit it out. Okay. It's probably an easy answer, because we're going to get into maybe a little more tricky issues in the second half. But there was some tweet going around about, I talked to somebody who talked to a lawyer, knows an owner, and there's one guy who wants to break the union. And it's like, okay, I'm pretty sure we know who that is. But seriously, as White Sox fans, it doesn't feel good to know that most likely the one guy who's the biggest hardliner, the guy who came away from the 1994, 1995 debacle angry it didn't get uglier, and then pouted and signed Albert Bell just to show all those other guys. How does it feel knowing that our owner is really the guy who is far, 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 far right of all the other owners in this, and he would perhaps rather destroy baseball than to see the union get any sort of win?
I mean, is anybody surprised by that? I'm not. I'm just picturing that that scene from The Last Dance where he just softly smiles. Yeah, I'm not surprised by that. How does it feel? I mean, I don't know. I don't want to swear on this podcast.
Honestly, he just reminds me of Scrooge. So I had no surprise that it was not him. I just wish his heart would soften. That would be cool.
Well, we're not cussing at least.
I wish he would become the Bill Murray version in Scrooge, where he like is so cold, but he's haunted by the ghosts of White Sox past. Like, personally, I want Charles Comiskey himself to go like, hey, buddy, I might be terrible, but you're so much worse.
Yeah.
And have him have like a change of heart. If Bobcat Goldwaste comes in with a shotgun, I mean, what more could you ask for? But it's not surprising, and I may be young and naive, but it's not surprising at all. He's always decent, or we're gonna have a lockout. So
It's
Yeah,
not surprising, but isn't it just as bad that one of the things that was brought up during the negotiations was the 2008 issue where you had the A's and the Pirates and the Marlins that don't ever spend any money, and the Players Association called them out on it, and they're like, well, we don't like you outing the fact that we don't spend money, even though it's a given. Like, as awful as Reinsdorf is, he does enough to make sure that he at least has an adequate product on the field. You've got owners that are literally just putting out 4A players and one old guy, and just are like, yep, 70-win season, but I'm getting my media revenue, I don't care. And that to me is what's destroying the game more than Jerry Reinsdorf, swimming in money and being happy that he has money and didn't have to pay anybody.
Yeah, I think what's scary is that I don't even know if he is the far right owner anymore. I feel like, but I will say I remember like hoping and wishing that like as he got older, maybe he'd have that like, I really want to win a World Series before I pass. And I was like, hope. And instead, it seems more like he's like, maybe I can break the players' union. I think that's what he wants before he goes out. Which
it's
it's unfortunate.
It's a strange epitaph. It doesn't seem to be the sunny one you might want to have carved into your headstone. All right, let's take a quick break. We're going to get back talking more about this stuff. Sorry, we got to. It is podcast 87. It is awake. I'm sorry, awake for at least 6 games. We got a 156 game season at best. We'll be back in a minute. Stick with us. It can't get any more bleak, I don't think. We'll be back. Okay, guess what? We're back. Podcast number 87. Awake for the first week of the season. Hey, guess what? Those of you who are smart enough, clever enough, weird, whacked out enough, searching for bargains enough to have chosen April 12th, I believe. April 12th is your first game of the season, a night game in mid-April. Well, that is the new White Sox home opener as of right now. We'll see how many more games slide off the schedule as the news has come today. No new CBA. Seems like the two sides are maybe a little bit further apart than we were led to believe by the ownership shills maybe this time on Monday night. And at least 2 series gone. Those games won't be paid, say the owners. That's going to fly. We have a lot of issues to discuss, but one thing I'm curious, thrown out to the entire table, the entire large adult Southside Sox table here on our podcast. Have the players, have they weakened their stance? Players seem to be bargaining in good faith. They made a lot of concessions. Now, of course, those can all be peeled back, and I'm guessing about right now, a lot of those concessions have been peeled back. But the fact that they've made a move to the center and owners have just sort of said, whatever, let's talk about the size of bases rather than actually try to meet in the middle. Is that in the long run going to hurt the players who do, to their credit here on March 1st, sound very fortified and willing to ride this out?
I think the short answer is yes. I don't think that's necessarily a great way to think about it, because it's like, oh my God, baseball players want to play baseball, the horror. And it's a shame that they are going to, that fact that they are baseball players, they're competitive people, they want to be on the field playing. As pissed off as they are, the longer we go, that desire is probably only going to get greater. And it sucks that the ownership class is going to ruthlessly exploit that. But I think that's kind of a given, that's the direction it will naturally head once the calendar's already flipped over to March. So it's kind of already beginning.
I kind of take a different approach because, what's different this time around compared to 94 or even some of the other years where it's been iffy, there's lots of other options now. Like we have you don't have people that are just dedicating their attention to Major League Baseball. There's a lot of competition. And I think that the longer this goes, the more strain there will be on the ownership in terms of the media deals. And I wouldn't be surprised if someone with a lot of money and an entrepreneurial spirit were to find a way to try to take some of those major league wanting players and do some sort of exhibition or something different with them, whether that's a foreign league or that's here in America. I wouldn't be shocked if that happens.
Well, we already talked about it on Twitter. I think Southside Sox is going to create our own league. Chrystal is the DH. I think Keelan is the sleepy pitching coach. We'll get something going.
You are actually trying to blow one of my surprises for this month without game.
Sorry.
But that's fine. I like the discussion. It will probably help me. I don't want to do all the work. But yeah, well, we'll talk about that at the end, I suppose. But yeah, we're going to have to come up with something besides just Charlotte Knights recaps. Again, is there a thought that players come back to this, given what's different about the climate now, and social media plays a role? I think there is a lot more support. I mean, there's idiots everywhere, and apparently even either the Russians are still getting paid by their government, whose ruble now is like a tenth of a penny, or MLB's just created their own factory of bot originators, because we've seen an awful lot of very curious social media activity. But it's safe to say that the social media war, the war for the hearts of fans, is being won by players. And I know that can spoil because people get impatient and we just want to see games. And boy, they're even $575,000 a year is way more money than I'm making. But this is different than 30 years ago. Is there a chance the players are really going to stick this out? You know, Zach has given some thoughts and indicate, yeah, at some point they'll crack, but how sustained do you think the players will stand strong? It certainly sounds like right now, March 1st, big deal. They don't want to be in spring training anyway. You know, is that going to sustain into April, May, June?
I think they should hold out until they get a little bit more of what they want. I mean, at the end of the day, they're the one that's entertaining us and making money for these billionaires. So, I mean, sit out as long as you need. I'm going to miss baseball, but I prefer them getting more of what they want, since they are the people actually playing the sport. So I'm really looking forward to May 1st, 2025, when we do get a season. But good for them. Stick it out.
The window might still be open. It's going to be open this big.
I just encourage people to look at like Max Scherzer's face, his eyes, his eye colors, I should say, and not think that man will stick it out as long as possible. And he scares me in a positive way, but with the younger players, kind of like the Mike Trout, they kind of want to go with the grain and be like, I'm gonna please you no matter what. But guys like Lucas Giolito, who will call out people that are bullies and not good people, I can see him being stubborn and sticking with it. And just very specific players are just like, come on, get over it. Like, you guys have X amount of money. We put on a show to get you guys more money. Give us what we want.
Yeah.
So I want people to look at different players and go, that man will stick it out until May 1st, 2025. Or something.
It's not insignificant, Delia, that the guy with the most to lose this season is perhaps the most hawkish in terms of standing firm. And you're seeing so much sentiment, obviously from the higher salaried players, saying we're really in this significantly for, not exclusively, but significantly for getting the younger guys paid quicker, more substantially. And again, that could just be smoke, but it does not seem like it, especially when Scherzer, who's like losing $1 million an hour at this point, is the guy who's really holding out strongest. At some point, field table of Southside Sox experts, does it make sense for players understanding why the association wanted to keep mediation out of this because it's like, we're here, just talk to us, you clowns. Don't try to play your games. At this point, or at some point soon, does it make sense to bring mediation in? Because it seems very clear they cannot tug ownership past what, 10% less than what they want, some token amount. Right now, if you stop with the best deal the ownership is given, it's significantly worse, I would say, to my eyes, than even what the just expired CBA is. So they've already lost ground. Does it make sense to bring in mediation at any point soon?
I think if the players continue to negotiate in good faith, and it seems that they have, it seems like the general consensus both here and throughout the baseball community is that owners have not held up their end of it. I mean, it's a complex process, certainly, but looking at it from that perspective, where the players and the Players Association has been holding up their end of the negotiating process, I think that mediation is beginning to slowly look like a more and more viable path for them going forward.
Somebody's got to get these guys to behave. Ownership clearly feels like can play by this different set of rules. They haven't lost like since Messersmith. They haven't lost in most fans' lifetimes. So why give in now? Why not continue to tug even harder? Because eventually these guys will give in because they're not billionaires. They're just millionaires, right? Wink, wink. So yeah, I mean, it would seem to me that somebody intervening might make some sense because, Scherzer's scary. I mean, I'm sure he just scares most of the guys on the other side of the table. Let's face it. He's drinking the 2 coffee pots, whatever, decaf, just a little decaf, but full on. Let's talk about when a season might start. Let's be hopeful. I'm on record saying I've changed my guess to Chrystal and Colleen's birthdays. Not quite the first day of summer, but I had a very dour take. Everyone else has been much more positive. Quick takes around where we think season may start at this point, looking pretty bleak.
I'm a glass half empty kind of girl. As I said, May 1st, 2025.
Yeah, you make
But
me
I
look like
would-
Santa Claus now. Yeah, okay.
I would like birthday baseball though. So if they could speed this up,
Okay.
June 19th, perfect day.
Those are close. So yeah, all right. Okay. Anyone a little more hopeful than that?
So sort of. I'm gonna pick. So my birthday is in late April, and I had planned to spend it at the park. So because there is a rule in the universe that I'm not allowed to have nice baseball things, I think the season will start like right after. Like let's go like May 1st, just to stick it to me because that's what happens. I'll be optimistic. I'll say May 1st.
Okay, let me just jump in and say this is a good time because I believe you might even come close to sharing a birthday with our labor beat reporter who was not able to be with us, Kristina Airdo. She did great work for us. I think she had another commitment. I think that commitment's sleep because she hasn't been sleeping doing this for the last 10 days or so. Of course, neither have I. So here's news for you if you're watching or if you're not. This is just Brett AI. It's strange that he's not any better looking or any more clever, but this is just the AI because of the real Brett. He's sleeping. Okay, rest of you, guesses, good vibes. Just some good vibes there. So somewhere maybe in between late April and 2025.
Yeah, the WNBA season starts on May 6th, and that has been my over-under line for most of the winter. I almost wonder if there's going to be a point where the possibility still exists that, if the owners lift the lockout, they could play under the terms of the previous CBA until a new one is negotiated. I have to wonder they're operating in such bad faith, and the offer for mediation, it's been hard to read those as anything more than a PR stunt. They're coming from such an unreasonable place. It's hard to think that they would actually want mediation. So if the players do hold their line, it wouldn't surprise me if once it gets to a point where the owners they don't want to pay the players, but they complain so much about all that missing revenue in 2020. I do wonder if there's a point where from a PR standpoint, it makes sense for them to just lift the lockout and let us play. If that happens, maybe even without a deal, we're looking at sometime in early May, late April. I'm not a labor lawyer. I don't freaking know what they're going to do, but maybe there's so much money to be lost. There's a part of me that still thinks it's really hard to see this extending into like June. So that's why I'm keeping it early May, but I don't say that with any kind of surety.
Zach, you're better than a labor lawyer. You're a Southside Sox expert. Come on. Jeez. All right. Okay. Other guesses?
I'll be somewhat cautiously optimistic. I'll say anywhere between May 8th, because that's my baccalaureate mass from Loyola, and June 23rd, because that's my half birthday. And I don't get baseball in December at all. And so I hope somewhere, I definitely say before 4th, though, before the 4th of July, because it's just my vibe. There's going to be baseball before July 4th.
Okay. Delia points to the stars and figures out her date. Okay, Joe, I'm going right to you because I want to see if you're going to break down. I want to see a tier. Is it a dour assessment from you, or are you pretty hopeful that you're going to get some Sox math this year?
I'm probably the least dour person, but yeah, it's still not great. I'm early, a couple podcasts ago, I said April 15th. I can't stick with that. I'll go with April 26th though. It feels like some random Tuesday night game against Kansas City. It just seems right for this prediction. And from the timing standpoint, I think it could happen that soon. Like, like they made some progress these past couple of days once they actually started, having serious meetings. And yeah, I think they could get something done and get actual games started by the end of April. I'll go April 26th now.
Yeah, no matter how many games they cancel, Joe, the White Sox will still play Kansas City 35 times this year. They will not miss it. They'll play more games at Kansas City with canceled games. Tyrone, what are you thinking?
I don't know. I think I lean towards late April, early May, just because I feel like none of the players asked are changing any sort of the main systems. So I feel like at some point I unfortunately see them just kind of giving in, because I think unless they're willing to threaten to miss the playoffs, I don't think they're going to get a ton more out of this. And I don't know if I would love it if they're screw it, we're just going to stay out until you remove the competitive balance tax and give us free agency after 4 years or something. I would love it if they did that, but I think I see it more at some point they're just going to realize we don't want to do that, so we'll take a lesser offer. So I feel like probably end of April.
Tommy, what's it going to be?
I feel so awful now. Next to Chrystal, I think mine is the latest. I'm thinking July 1st. That's kind of what I had in my head from the beginning, is that I don't see this going anywhere. And I think that, you have players that do esports, you got players that do their own stuff on the side. I really see this as a number of players using it as their opportunity to kind of make their own platform, do their own thing. And eventually there will be added pressure from external forces, again, similar to 1994, where it's all right, you guys need to figure this out. And I think it'll end up being another shortened sprint of a season.
All right. Well, Sox fans, readers, listeners, let's just be straight here. Okay, worst case scenario, we're still giving you stuff. We've been giving you stuff all off season. What are you complaining about? It's probably been better stuff than what you would have gotten. Some hobo the White Sox signed for right field. Come on. We got our top prospect polls. We got our 100 top prospects. We are going to have some sort of game coverage. Yes, we will. Yeah, it might be Chicago Dogs. It might be Charlotte Knights. We're going to have all our minor league coverage we always have. Come the start of spring training for the minor leaguers, which is March 7th, we're going to be having daily reports. There are going to be a couple tricks up our sleeves alluded to by Good Vibes there. Apparently, set Twitter aflame about all the speculation about how the Southside Sox may have some sort of league play. We got Keelan Ballou, who's going to be doing some sort of Q&A kind of stuff with some labor people out there. That's going to give you a little different wrinkle than what Kristina's been doing for us on the labor front. So we got a ton of stuff. more than you know what to do with. You don't know what to do with all the stuff we give you. We're probably going to give you more, even if the White Sox aren't playing. But let's hope they are. Let's hope it's closer to late April than 2025. Although if Chrystal nails it, she'll be our next president, and it would not be a bad thing. Hey, listen, thanks everybody. We'll be doing more podcasts too, and who knows if there are more ghoulish podcasts, like more wakes, maybe we'll get a big turnout like this once again. Loved having all of you with me. Thanks for joining. Let's do it again real soon, please.